Okay, so hello everyone. I will be reporting about the cost benefit analysis. This report should have been last meeting May 20, but yeah, uh, there was some event sa work, so we asked permission kay sir to have a presentation recorded. So this report is part of the investigation of Engineer Juko. So they each have their own recordings, and I was assigned to discuss about cost benefit analysis. So let me first introduce myself. I am Engineer Christian Angelo Mangabay, currently a member of the Faculty of Aeronautical Engineering of Collegiate University. And I'll be reporting about cost benefit analysis as mentioned. So this report will be a quick one. So we'll be discussing what cost benefit analysis is in terms of value metrics, in terms of uh, its definition, uh, more on mag-defend tayo dito sa isang formula. Uh, it's a bit of a generalized formula na sinusundan whether be it in policy analysis, in a corporate project, in environmental projects, etc. So it's a bit of a generalized formula na siya yung sinusundan na mga sectors na to to perform a cost-benefit analysis. So let us start. First is, let us define what is CBA. So, CBA or cost-benefit analysis is a method for determining social costs and benefit. So yun nga. We are trying to determine kung, let's say, for example, a project is a government project. Will this project benefit, or what are the benefits of this project, and what are the costs that lie with it? Yeah, parang ganon. So it's a policy assessment method that quantifies the value of policy consequences, usually called impacts. No? So yung tawag natin dun sa mga consequences na yun is impacts. So we assess this. No? We assess all of these impacts in terms of uh, value metrics, no? Or monetary terms, so to all members of the society. So, CBA calculates, so ito yung formula na sinasabi ko kanina, na generalized na sinusundan ng every sector that uses or that performs a CBA. No? So a CBA calculates net social benefits or yung NSP for each policy alternative. So net social benefits or NSB is equals to benefit minus yung social cost or B minus C. So we have two arguments against CBA or disputes. No? We have first is that the sum of individual utility should be maximized and that one can trade off utility gains and losses among people. So ito yung some people lose, some gain more depending on uh, which side they are. So kumbaga parang on a certain situation, uh, ibang tao, ang situation na to is more of a cost or mawawalan sila sa ganitong situation. And some naman is magbe-benefit sila sa ganong situation. No? So they argue that there is no theoretical basis for making trade-offs between one person's benefits and another person's cost. So sinasabi daw na walang theoretical basis yung trade-offs. So yung trade-offs na yun nga, some lose, some gain more. So kapag ang pinag-uusapan is a person's benefit or a person's cost, so wala daw theoretical basis yung ganong trade-off na merong isang taong isa or some people na mawawalan and isa or some people na magbe-benefit doon sa isang situation. So, public policy participants disagree about specific issues in CBA, such as yan, how to monetize costs and benefits. So, paano natin monetize or paano natin mai-express in monetary value yung cost and benefits ng, let's say, for example, a project. No? Kung kunwari, in an intersection, would it be better na maglagay tayo ng stoplight dun sa intersection or hindi? Yan. So kapag hindi tayo naglagay ng stoplight, mas mabilis ang flow ng traffic. No? And pag naglagay naman tayo, mas babagal. So, another is, kung hindi tayo maglalagay ng stoplight, pwedeng mas prone sa accident yung intersection. While kapag naman naglagay tayo, mas minimize kumbaga. So, how do we express yung costs and benefits in a monetary value, no? So, kapag naglagay ba tayo nitong stoplight, yung gastos sa pag-i-install and pagma-manage nung stoplight na yon is will it be more than kapag hindi, pag hindi tayo nag-install? Let's say, nabawasan yung accidents since naglagay tayo ng stoplight. So, yung gastos ba dun sa accidents is much lower kapag sa pag-i-install and pagsa-service, pag-maintain ng stoplight na yon kung maglalagay tayo. So, you have to compare. So, next is what impacts are all, especially over time. So, ano yung magiging effects ng or uh, ano yung magiging effects based on the CBA, especially when you consider time, no? Next is whether an impact is a cost or benefit. So, once we have determined yung mga impacts na yun, we have to classify whether it's a cost or a benefit. And lastly is how to make trade-offs between the present and the future. So dito we are considering yung future, no? So if we do this today, how will it be in the future? If we do not do this today, how will it be on the future? Purpose and uses of TBA. So first is to help effective social decision making through efficient allocation of society's resources when market fails or pag nagkaroon tayo ng market failure. So usually ang CBA is ginagamit siya or ginagawa siya to aid, no, to help in decision making. So with this, for example, with this project, um, if we allocate budget on this project or on this policy, on this regulation, uh, how will it be? How will it affect, no, yung community? Uh, how will it affect or how will it affect yung environment? Yeah. If we allocate budget on this regulation and i i-implement natin siya, uh, what's in it for if this is a national project, what's in it for the government, for the society? So when market fails and resources are used inefficiently, TBA can be used to clarify which of the potential alternative programs, policies, or projects, including yung status quo, is the most efficient. So, ito medyo, although madi-discuss natin sila mamaya, yung types ng CBA, yung ex ante, ex post, uh, in medias res, yan, tsaka yung comparative. Uh, Dito kasi sa yung kapag nag-fail na yung market and nagamit na natin yung resources natin, pwede pa rin tayo mag-perform ng CBA, no? To determine which would be the best um, method, which would be the best step. Yeah. to take, no? To kumbaga cover yung or kumbaga to save per se. To save per se yung failure na nangyari, no? So kaya nga sabi dito, closest to efficiency, no? Closest to the most efficient. Yeah. So as I was saying, we have uh, different types of CBA, no? So first is the ex ante, meron tayong ex post, the in medias res, and yung fourth naman is comparative CBA, which is comparing yung ex ante and ex post. So later we will be discussing them one by one. So let us first start with ex ante CBA. So the ex ante CBA, from the word itself, ante. So we conduct this prior to policy intervention. So this will to show whether resources should be used on a program or project. So ito yung parang example natin kanina. So excuse me, we perform a cost-benefit analysis to determine whether uh, allocating resources or allocating funds for this specific project, which haven't started yet, um, will be a cost. Would it be cost or would it be a benefit? What are the costs? What are the benefits? Are the benefits greater than the costs or vice versa, etc.? So, yeah. Si ex post naman is from the word itself, post. So we conduct this at the end of the policy intervention. So provides information about the particular class of intervention. No? So after nung policy intervention, tsaka tayo gagawa ng cost-benefit analysis. So sa ganitong paraan, mas kumbaga medyo directed na yung magiging cost-benefit analysis natin because we have already shown results. Kumbaga, meron na tayong information, meron na tayong data na mas solid kasi kumbaga tapos na yung policy. No? And uh, nagkaroon na ng interaction between the policy, no? And yung kung saan siya in-implement. So we have already gathered a a specific data kumbaga, no? So in medias res naman, in medias res CBA, we're conducting this during policy intervention naman, no? So while the policy intervention is ongoing, doon natin siya ginagawa to kumbaga yung kanina para for us to know or for us to determine which step is most efficient. Kaya nga nabanggit ko na sila ahead of time kanina kasi ito yung kapag nag-fail na yung market, parang ano siya in medias res na CBA, no? So we perform CBA to determine what's the most efficient step to make. While si comparative CBA naman, sabi ko nga kanina, we compare yung ex ante. Sa ex ante kasi medyo nag-predict tayo dyan. Ano yung, ano yung possible na maging results na or maging effects ng policy na to, ng regulation na to. No? So, kumbaga, sa ex ante, we're comparing it or we're comparing ex post kay ex ante, which is si ex ante is a hypothesis. Kumbaga. So compares the ex ante predictions to ex post results for the same project. So yeah, very few of these comparisons have been conducted because the clients of ex post analysis are different from clients of ex ante analysis. So, project specific decision making. Yeah. So si ex ante tsaka si in medias res, they are project specific decision making tools or steps. Kumbaga. So, si ex ante kasi is most useful for resource allocation decision. Kapag mag-allocate ka ng resources, kapag whether you want or whether you want to know, if you want to know whether allocating a budget on a certain project, a certain regulation, uh, will be, would it be a benefit or would it be a cost? Well, I'm sure meron naman cost and benefits both yan, but would the benefit be more than the cost? Yan, kumbaga. Same kay in medias res, no? In medias res can also be used for the same purpose, but ex post analysis is too late to divert resources to alternative uses. So kapag kasi gumamit tayo ng ex post, uh, kumbaga fix na yan, no? Uh, hindi na natin mai-divert yung resources or yung budget sa alternative uses. No. Since tapos na nga siya, as I mentioned earlier. While yung, ayan naman, learning about the value of a specific project, so dyan naman papasok si ex post analysis. So, most useful for looking at the efficiency of a particular project. So, since sabi ko nga tapos na siya, parang kumbaga nagiging assessment na lang, ex post analysis. So, then in medias res and then ex ante. So the reason is that more is learned about the actual impacts of the project as time goes by. Yeah. The fourth type of analysis compares ex ante and in medias res or yung ex post analysis. So these comparisons provide information about the accuracy of ex ante CBA. So pag sinabi nating comparative nga siya syempre. And we compare either ex ante and in median res or ex ante and ex post. So one thing constant about this is that we always compare them to ex ante. So parang ang nangyayari is we're trying to see the accuracy ng predictions natin sa ex ante, no? Yung accuracy ng hypothesis natin sa ex ante. Because yung sa in medias res and sa ex post, these are hindi na sila hypothesis. Baga real life data na sila na nangyari, no? So these comparisons also help our understanding of prediction error. So the demand for CBA, so many countries now mandate CBAs or related techniques prior to the enactment of various programs or regulations. So in the US, for example, various executive orders and acts require a CBA to be conducted prior to new regulations, no? So yeah, I think same din naman sa policy making or sa decision making ng regulations and policies sa Philippines. No? I think or not not in the government lang naman. Same din sa mga private companies, sa mga constructions, etc. Be it whatever industry, no? I think everyone naman, when it comes to projects, policies, regulations, which concerns, no? Especially which if it concerns a huge amount of budget of resource allocation. I think it's required naman talaga to conduct a cost benefit analysis ayun, to assess or to have a clearer viewpoint of the effects of the project, no? Uh, of the costs and the benefits of the project to the community. If that's a policy to the, or if that's a regulation, its effects to the society, to the community, to the nation. Yeah. If it's a uh, if it's a corporate project, yeah, effect niya sa mga gagamit. Kung kanino kung kanino i-implement yung project nila na yun, no? Say, mining companies, yan. Kapag ba magtatayo ka ng mining company, say, meron kang info na at this certain point or at this certain location, merong mineral deposits, no? So, ah, kapag ba magtatayo ka ng mining company, are the benefits of establishing the mining company more than the costs na may incur? Let's say, syempre mining company yan. Kung ang location ng mineral deposits is sa forest, no? Are yung pag-cut down ba ng trees for the mining to take place is reasonable, kumbaga. Uh, is it a reasonable cost for the benefit uh, of mining the mineral deposit? We also have to consider na yung yung growth rate ng forest, kumbaga. Bumabalik ba yung yung mga kinut down na trees or tumutubo ba sila ulit? Yan. Uh, benefits. Gaano ba karaming workers or gaano ba karaming work yung ma-generate nung pag-establish mo ng mining company? Yan. Another cost, um, yung mga equipments ba? Or let's say kung oil deposit yan ang imamain mo is hindi ba siya makaka-affect sa water supply ng mga nearby towns, nearby cities, so, nearby dun sa location nung mining plant, no? So, mga ganon. So, uh, CBA is commonly used, no, to assess whether, ayun nga, kanina pa tayo ulit-ulit, whether a project or an activity per se would would be a better step to make rather than not, no? So in the UK, so going back in the UK, the UK requires project appraisal, no? So CBAs are also in demand because of citizen resistance to new taxes. So forcing the government to at least consider more efficient policies and increased concern for the environment to ensure that the valuation of environmental impacts are included in the debates and decisions. So, sa CBA, hindi lang naman, yes, we're trying to express yung costs and benefits in monetary values or in value metrics. But, uh, hindi naman porket, ay, kikita ako dito. No? So, when we compare choices, when we compare options, and merong choice na mas doon ka pinaka magpa-profit, hindi naman all the time is it's the right choice, no? So, kaya nga we're doing an analysis. So, profit is not always uh, the goal of cost-benefit analysis, no? Sa, even sa policy making, it's not always the monetary profit or yung balik nung pag-establish ng policy na yon ang habol, no? Usually, uh, if if you compare it with common good, usually yung common good yung nangingibabaw, no? The cost of CBA or the process of CBA takes many resources. So first is yung analytic time or yung opportunity cost. Same silang opportunity cost ni skilled human capital. So ito yung mga, or along with money, no? Which represents the opportunity cost of other scarce inputs to the analytic input. So ito yung kumbaga requirements na kailangan for or to perform ACBA. So kailangan mo ng time para ma-perform yung mismong analysis because performing a CBA really takes time, no? Next is skilled human capital, no? Yung mga gagawa or magka-conduct na cost benefit analysis. And syempre, yung money, no? Kailangan yan. Yeah. So basic steps of CPA. So step one is to specify the set of alternative projects. So there are usually a huge number of potential alternative projects. For example, and dimensions with k possible values. So yung alternatives natin is kn alternatives. Yeah. So minimally, the CBA compares the net social benefits of the project with the net social benefits of a hypothetical project. No? So parang ito yung parang ito yung comparative CBA kanina. No? You compare a hypothetical uh, project to a social or yung solid na data. Or specific project is what would be displaced or that would be displaced if the project would proceed. So this hypothetical project is called the counterfactual and is usually the status quo. So parang ito yung standard natin, yung hypothetical project na to. Step 2 is yung or to decide whose benefits and costs count or yung standing. Standing determines whose benefits and costs will count. Standing is usually most appropriately specified at the national level. So there is contention as to when standing should be specified at the global level. So some favor global standing, especially when there are international spillovers for many environmental issues. So, for example, yung dispute ng Philippines sa China over Spratly Island, no? Um, would it as for the benefits, yes, we can claim that those group of islands is really the Philippines to own, no? But uh, contending it with a superpower like China, uh, what are the costs? We have the military power to go against them. So parang yan yung mga nagiging naririnig ko nun na issues. Yes, uh, pwede nating i-contest, no? Na sa atin talaga yung group of islands na yun. But do we have the capacity to go against them, no? Kung mapupunta dun sa point na talagang gera, kumbaga. No? So, yan. So, for other kinds of projects, some advocate standing at a lower level, such as state, province, or local government. Step 3, catalog the impacts and select measurement indicators. So this the physical impacts as benefits or costs and specify the impact units. So impacts include both inputs and outputs. CBA analysts should only include impacts that affect individual utility of human beings. Also, there must be a cause and effect relationship between project outcome and individuals' utility. So note, no, impact categories that may be valued in oppositely by different individuals. So some individuals view the impact as cost. So sinabi ko na rin to kanina, no? So some individuals view the impact as cost sa kanila, kawalan sa kanila. While others naman view it as a benefit, no? So in such circumstances, it is often more useful to create two separate impact categories. So gawa ka ng magkaibang category ng impact. Also, natural measurement units may not be feasible. So example is yung crimes avoided. No? Such cases, surrogate indicators or supplementary indicators can be used. Next is to predict the impacts quantitatively and or over the life of the project. So, syempre, prediction is difficult. No? Supply and demand curves usually aren't known. This makes it hard to quantify impacts according to the conceptually correct method. In general, it's more difficult to predict impact of the project if the project has a long time horizon or if the relationships between the variables are complex. So the prediction and impacts, so we have to quantify no? uh, lahat ng impacts over the time na gagawin ng project. No? Uh, let's say sa paggawa ng bridge or ng overpass, uh, kung 5 years, let's say, na gagawin yung bridge na yan, so ibig sabihin 5 years din na magkaka-traffic dun sa location na yun, no? Or 5 years din na sarado yung daan na yun na gagawan ng bridge or ng overpass, no? Mga ganun. So over the life of it, you have to quantify ano yung mga possible and ano lahat yung mga pwede na maging impacts nun. Especially kapag matagal na gagawin yung project, if it takes years, uh, mas mahirap i-predict no, yung mga impacts. Step 5 is to monetize all impacts. So in CBA, value is measured in terms of willingness to pay. So obtained from demand curves, many impacts are difficult to value in dollar terms because they're not traded in markets. Example is yung life. Wala namang monetary value ang buhay. No? If no individual is willing to pay for an impact, then it has zero value. Then next is, step 6 is to discount benefits and costs to obtain present values. So impacts are discounted because almost everybody has a preference for consumption now rather than later. No? The appropriate discount value method and level is contentious. It is discussed extensively in subsequent chapters. So often the rate is mandated by a government agency responsible for financial and budgetary oversight or other government agencies. And lastly, step 7 is to balik tayo dun sa formula kanina. Compute the net present value of each alternative. Dito na natin uh, i-discount the cost sa benefits to obtain kung ano ba talaga yung value ng project na yun. No? Is it a benefit or is it more of a cost? Kumbaga. So the net present value or NPV equals the present value of benefits minus the present value of costs. No? So choose the alternative with the largest NPV. So dito, pipiliin na natin after we have conducted all the steps, after we have gathered all the data. And kapag na-compute na natin sila in terms of monetary, in terms of value metrics, we will choose the largest net present value. No? The alternatives with the largest NPV at least represents a more efficient allocation of resources. So, syempre, we have considered all the costs. We have considered all the benefits. So, naturally, no, yung may pinakamataas na net present value, siya yung most efficient, no, na pag-redirectan natin ng resources or ng budget, no. One can say it's the most efficient allocation because not all possible alternatives are necessarily analyzed in the CBA. So meron pa rin naman tayong limitations sa CBA kasi hindi lahat kaya natin i-quantify into numbers, no? So, hindi rin siya yung best or most efficient, but out of all the choices, it is, no? Out of all the choices, the options we had, it is. Sorry, may step 8 and 9 pa pa. Step 8, perform sensitivity analysis, no? There is usually considerable uncertainty about both predicted impacts and their appropriate monetary valuation. So sensitivity analysis clarifies for decision makers how these uncertainties affect the CBA result. Just about every variable and assumption can be subjected to sensitivity analysis, but time and resource constraints lead analysts to focus most on the most important variables or assumptions. So, step 9 is to make a recommendation. So normally recommend the alternative with the highest NPV, but also take into account sensitivity analysis. So, the sensitivity analysis, parang siya yung nagiging comparative data natin, no? Sa, dun sa highest NPV. Kasi normally, ang i-recommend natin is yung may highest NPV. So, si sensitivity analysis is parang magiging siyang neutralizer. If still uh, we considered yung ating sensitivity analysis, compared it with the highest NPV, and the benefits are still higher than the cost, then usually, normally, it will be the highest NPV will be recommended for the uh, alternatives. No, so bureaucratic and political lenses. Government employees have a tendency to see costs and benefits from an individual self-interested perspective or from a variety of agency-interested perspective. So the agency perspectives are based on the specific organizational role of the government employee. So we have three archetypal perspectives, which is yung guardian, spender, and analyst. So for now, we will only be discussing yung guardian and spender. No? Kasi sila lang naman yung merong differences talaga, while si analyst is medyo ano siya, uh, comparative. No? Yeah. So for the guardian perspective, so guardians views projects from a revenue expenditure perspective. No? So revenue inflows equals yung benefits. Tapos yung outflows naman, yung palabas ng pera. No? Yung kita, yun yung benefits. Yung expenditures or yung gastos, yun yung costs. No? Outflows. So, Western perspective have a tendency to regard CBA as naive and impractical and as a tool of spenders. Personal inline agencies may facilitate between a spender and guardian perspective depending on the political and budgetary climate. So financial control personnel inline agencies tend to have a guardian perspective. So here are the consequences or some consequences of the guardian perspective. No? First is it downplays or ignores non-financial social benefits. So ito yung mga benefits na hindi natin ma-quantify, no? As a monetary value, no? So time saved, yan. Lives na saved, etc. And costs naman yan. Time spent, pollution, etc. Yan. It interprets the meaning of costs idiosyncratically or incorrectly regarding the cost of labor. Guardians focus on actual wage remuneration, while CBA focuses on the opportunity cost of the labor. So resources owned by the government tend to be viewed as free goods rather than having an opportunity cost. It ignores the costs not borne by its own level of government. Another is it treats subsidies from other levels of government as benefit. They are revenue inflow. No? Tinitreat yung subsidies uh, as a benefit, no? As kita, parang ganun. And lastly is it wants to use a high social discount rate, similar to a financial market discount rate, usually higher than the social discount rate. So kay spender perspective naman, is usually found in service or line departments. Ang consequences of the spender perspective are expenditures on constituents are viewed as benefits rather than costs. No? Transfers from CBA perspective received by constituents are viewed as benefits. Some costs, such as workers' wages, are viewed as benefits. This often means support for any project rather than a do nothing status quo. Next is utilized resources that are owned by government are viewed as having no cost. And large capital intensive projects with big sunk costs are favored. They're harder to cancel later on. And they tend to view market allocations as inappropriate and do not accept the project resources are diverted from other productive uses. Lastly, they favor low discount rates. No, kabaliktaran siya ni Guardian perspective. So because holding everything else constant raises the NPV. So to sum up, no, CBA is used whether before we start a project while or pwede rin na while the project is ongoing and pwede rin na after the project is done, no? So it depends kung ano yung situation mo. If you want to determine how much budget to allocate for a certain project that hasn't started yet, if you want to determine whether allocating a budget or resources on this certain project would be good or not, would would the benefits of implementing this project, this policy, this regulation uh, would be more of a benefit than a cost. If you want to determine those, we can use the ex ante na CBA. So, if the project has already started, pwede naman tayo dun sa in median res. So, uh, kaya lang, no? Pag nag-in median res ka kasi, parang we accept the fact na there has been a market failure and we have to find an alternative. So, for we have to find an alternative to reallocate, kumbaga, yung budget or yung resources natin because something went wrong. Okay, ex post naman, uh, we are trying to determine whether we are trying to determine the results after the project has been made, no? Kumbaga meron na tayong set direction, uh, and we already have a irrefutable data, no? For the ex post na CBA analysis. And kay comparative naman, we compare either ex ante and in median res or ex ante and ex post to see, no, how accurate yung predictions natin dun sa ex ante analysis. Okay? So, basically, yun lang naman sila. You perform CBA to know or to determine whether a project, a regulation, a policy would be good, would be more beneficial than costly, no? Be it in societal, community terms, or monetary values, value metrics. The goal is one, no? The goal is simple. Determining whether uh, this certain project, this certain policy, this certain regulation would be more beneficial than costly. So I think that would be it for my part of the report for cost benefit analysis. I hope you learned something from the discussion. If you have any questions, you can direct them dun sa ating comment section sa stream ng Google Classroom. Thank you and good day.